All right, let's get the day started. So our first panel, Preparing the Workforce for Tomorrow, will provide a comprehensive look at how we can equip and train our air traffic workforce to ensure safety and efficiency in an ever-changing environment. Please welcome, for the first time to the stage, NATCA Safety Rep, John Murdock. Vice President of Safety and Technical Training for the FAA, Jeff Planty. Deputy Vice President of Safety and Technical Training for the FAA, Chris Wilbanks. And finally, NATCA's training rep, Jamaal Haltom.
Well, good morning. Glad to be on stage finally. And it looks like most of you survived Vegas last night, even though I almost didn't. So thanks for being here, and we're really excited. So we're here just to have a conversation this morning and talk about some initiatives that NATCA and the FAA have been working on within safety and technical training. There's the availability of the Slido. Please submit your questions, and if we have some questions and some time, we're happy to answer them and go through them. So thank you for that, but I'll let the panel introduce themselves. As before, I'm John Murdock. I'm the NATCA Safety Chair. Really excited to be here, talk about some of the initiatives.
Yeah, good morning. Glad to be here. Had a great night last night. Survived. Thank you. Jeff Planty. I'm the Vice President for Safety and Technical Training.
Good morning, Chris Wilbanks. Appreciate the opportunity to be here. Deputy Vice President for Safety and Technical Training.
Morning, everyone. Jamaal Haltom, NATCA's National Training Representative, proud veteran of the United States Air Force.
Yeah. Go Air Force.
Yeah. Off we go.
Okay, Jamaal. Got that. All right, well, good morning again. So the reason we're up here and safety and training are attached at the hip, and we want to talk about some stuff that connect and where we're taking the ATO and how we're developing the workforce actually today and some of the workforce tomorrow. How are we better preparing you to do your job and be more effective and maybe in some instances make some data-informed decisions?
Yeah, I think you're going to hear, if you've been to some of the panels already on technology, you're going to hear us talk about them and how they are actually improving safety, and you'll see some of the metrics around surface events and where we're trending, and then how that applies to training. So hopefully be a great presentation for you.
Yeah, so first we're just talk a little successful program here, launched it a few years back. It's the PIREP information display. A little bit busy of a slide up there, but PIDS for short. It's deployed at a few centers across the country, and it's providing a visual indication to the workforce or the controller at the sector, or potentially the CIC or SOUP, when PIREP solicitation is required. And this program's super successful. We've actually seen a dramatic increase in the solicitation of PIREPs and a better understanding or a better will to do it. So this is one thing that started in AJI a few years ago, and we're working on deploying it out throughout the NAS.
Yeah, one indication that it's successful, we've received a lot of positive feedback from the facilities. We're in the phase of finalizing the testing, and so that means that we're slowing down. And so an indication that people like it or heard about it is the other centers that we're rolling this out to now want it. Like, what's happening, where are we at? So we're currently doing the test NCP. That's just a fancy way to say we're testing it, gathering feedback. We should be wrapping that up and working with acquisitions to roll that into a full-on national change proposal. So look forward to rolling that out to the other centers.
Yeah, and huge thank you to the team that's been rolling it out, right, and refining it and making it a product that's working well in the NAS and actually providing a benefit and taking actually a little bit of workload off the controllers in at the sector.
Yeah, and yesterday we heard from Dan Hamilton and Dan Hickok about the surface awareness initiatives, the ARV, RIDS, SAI. Those things are rolling out now. I think RIDS is in a test phase. If you get an opportunity, go to those booths and see the actuals for that technology. I think you'll be amazed if you haven't seen it yet. SAI was rolled out to several facilities with a plan to continue that. And yesterday, really a great briefing on Datacom as well. So that not only is improving safety, but reducing the workload, which we heard about throughout yesterday's briefings.
Yeah, so just a little good news story, and this is really a testament to the facilities, the workforce, and actually the industry digging in. So last year, this time, we were really talking about runway incursions, Class A, Category A and B, the worst, the most severe runway incursions, and we definitely saw a spike last year. But we leaned in, right? We worked together. We put some products out. We tried to educate folks and just really bring some awareness to it. Really, we're proud to report that we're almost down 62% on Category A and B runway incursions this year. I think that's a testament to the industry, and I agree. That's really this room. But we want to keep driving down runway incursions, right? It's probably one of the highest threat areas in the operation, and A's and B's are very important to drive down, but C's, D's, E's, right? The rest of them, right? We don't want those errors, and I think that maybe goes to training, right? And reinforcing when we're in the simulators or we're doing our tabletop exercises or some of the flight deck stuff that's going on out there, that we're really reinforcing the importance of holding short or making sure we're completing coordination and those kind of things.
Absolutely. We'll get to simulation later as we go through the slides, but taking the time to look at your airport, find the hot spots, look where those runway incursions are, no matter what phase you're in your career. If it's your first time at a facility and you're going through and using the TSS to assess that for your first time, that's great. But as we professionally develop, we continue in our careers as the airport configurations might change, as runways are renumbered, as hot spots are identified, we go in, we simulate, and we make sure that we're aware of all of those issues so that we can reduce incursions. And training and safety will never be able to separate from one another. And unfortunately, that means I'll never get away from John.
What I would add, just you'll see in this slide, we want to understand why the numbers are down and leverage those best practices. The teams are now taking those events that we are doing a great job at and leveraging best practices. And we're not going to let up. We're reinvesting in the runway safety teams, taking a different look at it and see why are we getting better and how can we continue that.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's really important to even talk about reporting, right? There's a nexus. Voluntary reporting so important to all the conversations we're going to have today. That provides us insight to what's actually occurring in the NAS, right? So just keep submitting them reports. If there's something going on, the ASAPs, we see ASAPs that are shared back to the ATO. If there's something going on the flight deck that we need to know, please get it to us. So we're interested in learning and knowing more to keep these numbers going down. But this is a pretty great story, 62%, and I think it's this room that's making a big difference.
Yeah, this is our safety culture. I think I've heard safety culture at about every briefing that occurred yesterday, and you just heard Andrew talk about focusing on the human, and so I'm really excited about where we're going with safety culture. If you were in Aaron and Christine's briefing yesterday on safety culture, you know that it's going to a new level. We are looking at the investing in the individual leadership and investing in the wellness of the employees to see if that's actually going to help in the overall reporting process and the environment of the facility. So if you do get, shameless plug, if you see the Better Up booth, we are partnering with Better Up to see if coaching, mentoring, and employee development will actually lead to that well-being, resiliency, and have a positive effect on our safety culture.
Yeah, in partnerships with the FAA and Better Up right now, that's not something NATCA's joined on to, just so we know for right now. But the safety culture is a really interesting conversation, and I'm a big proponent today, right now, in the industry. We're bringing in thousands of new pilots, engineers, aircraft certification techs, right? Flight crews, cabin crews, controllers. We have an opportunity right now. Right? We have an opportunity that's probably never existed to instill a good culture, leading in right at the academy, right? We are safety professionals, right? Being able to dig in and be okay having a conversation about okay, what happened? Why did it happen? And can we mitigate it down, any risk, right? I think this is an absolute opportunity. And everybody in this room plays a part in this culture. And this opportunity is we instill in the correct value and the correct culture at the local level, in the mid, and coming down from, headquarters at FAA and throughout our organizations.
Well, Chris, you could add to this, but reinforced is we'll be returning basics back to the academy soon. When exactly?
Starting in 25, we'll start it this year for our new FY schedules, bringing air traffic basics back in person. And to your point, and John as well too, it's about starting right there. I mean, for so many reasons. One, that's the basics that we teach in air traffic. It's also the opportunity to instill that safety culture and that balance we talk about to set the path for the rest of the career. So definitely opportunity there. And we'll get into it in the next slide, but I think AT Basics is going to provide a lot more value than what we think it is, bringing that back in person. So.
It reinforced in the 3120.4 is the requirement to have an ATSAP briefing, ATSAP training actually, within the first 30 days of being at a facility. So make sure that we all are included in the process of developing and cultivating our safety culture. As soon as you get into the profession, we want people to know that reporting is important and being flexible and learning and continuing to evolve that culture.
And we do have a tremendous amount of data, a lot of reports, a lot of the safe discussions, a lot of information that should lead to that, as Jamaal says, the training and ability for us to leverage that data appropriately to make improvements. One of the things that we'll be investing in and we're working in collaboration with is to give the ERCs the tools so that they can quickly do that and give us the data to work with Jamaal and our training team and then make those changes. So, why we're talking about training, in my 40 years in aviation, I've not seen such a focus and drive around training and improving the way that training is accomplished that Jamaal has established through his leadership and partnership and collaboration with Chris and our team. They are, really, I didn't think I would see anybody super excited about training, but the entire team sees the future and where we're going with training, and I think that's encouraging for the workforce.
I think there's a really good point to point out here. It talked a little bit about voluntary reporting and reporting within a safety culture, so just thinking important. And just a little fun fact I like to tout once in a while here. There's right now, ATSAP's just a little over 15 years old. It's 225,000 reports in ATSAP. It's about 15,000 reports a year. That's unbelievable. But those reports inform training, right? And they inform what the other part of AJI is doing. We're intaking that and we're learning from that because it's what you're experiencing. And not only ATSAP, but ATSAP X, right? Safer FCT, and even the ASAPs that are shared through us through the Confidential Information Share Program are so valuable. And they're really informing what they're doing in the training world and making a new curriculum and changes to the orders.
Absolutely, refresher, recurrent, all of those things should be developed and built off of the reports that we get, find the gaps, and that leads us to this, is the importance of taking care and accounting for each and every individual that we have in the system. Our academy training statistics, we're not hiding it from anyone. As you can see, we are a little bit down in versus our 5-year average currently. But we're looking at every avenue that we can absolutely attack those issues, and we want to discuss some of those right now with you all. Is looking at the academy, bringing basics back to in-person, working on the curriculum. Chris and the team made a huge investment in going through a curriculum rewrite, so maybe discuss a little bit what that looks like and how monumental that changes.
Yeah, I could talk about this slide for the next hour, but I think we only got about 22 minutes left. But one of the most
Chris,
important things
thank you for
here,
not talking about this for an hour.
Yeah.
That would be terrible.
There's a lot here, but one of the most important pieces is, again, looking at that success rate and or failure rate, depending on how you look at it. We're at an all-time high in the en route side, 40%, we're losing 40% of the people. Yesterday it was talked about max hiring for the next 5 years due to the reauthorization. What I like to focus on is quality over quantity. So again, what we try to do, our goal, without reducing the standard, our goal is to increase the number of CPCs by increasing the success rate and reducing the time to certification. And there's a lot of things going on in between that start to finish process that we have done. One of them, as Jamaal mentioned, was the IQ rewrite for terminal and en route. I went through the academy in 2005, and I don't think we've trained or changed the way we train or the curriculum since 2005. We do maintenance cycles every couple of years. As things change in the .65, we update that. But the team sit down and went start to finish through the entire curriculum for both terminal and for the en route side. One of the things we wanted to focus on, the radar associate position, set the people up for a little bit more success when they go to the field, having an idea and an understanding of what the actual D-side position is doing. And then we talk about, the training standards, which I'll let Jamaal talk a little bit more about that if he wants to mention it. But one of the things we need to start focusing on is training, and then having that opportunity to practice what you've trained, to reinforce it before you move on to the next stage, so that you're building on that, as opposed to going all the way through the training and you get to the end and you're trying to remember what you learned on day one. You never learned it because you never had that opportunity to apply it. So that is one of the enhancements that you'll see. My goal, optimistically, is to roll this out sometime in the middle of FY25 at the Academy. We'll start with the new en route and the new IQ, but if you want to talk about the performance standards, as that would relate to it.
Incorporating those performance standards, and it's important to know it's not Chris and myself doing this. We have SMEs, James Newman, Amy Sizemore, just to name a few, that are working, that are, they work every day in en route facilities, and we have a terminal team also working on the IQ, and what they found is they are closer to the situation, so they can transition from the academy into the first stage in the field training and make that more seamless. As Chris said, having part task training, ensuring that the individual elements that allow you to become a successful air traffic controller are established at the academy, rather than shotgunning and hoping that you covered it all. As you said, you start on day one, you learn a little bit, you then focus on that you learned, so you can develop, and day two actually is impactful, as opposed to just trying to play this giant game of catch up. So having SMEs that are close to who are involved in the daily training at their facilities, get to the academy and redo the curriculum, we think is going to pay dividends. Important that we all use these statistics, having nearly 1,000 air traffic controllers in here to identify that if you look at en route, if the agency hires 1,000 en routers in a year, we already know that at the academy we're losing about 300 of those, right? Then you get to the field and you're going to lose another 24 or 5%, which I guess you can go to the next slide for that. You're going to lose another piece of that as you go forward. So each one of these trainees that we get is a precious commodity to us, and we have to treat it as such. And that's why, as we redevelop the 3120.4, you see skill training there. It shouldn't be something that we're looking at as a tool of punishment, but more as a tool of assessing and developing and making sure that we're leaning in and giving everything that we have to the air traffic controllers. I see Nick Luch there, part of the 3120.4 review team that rewrote that. And when they rewrote the skill training, that was in mind, is not use it as a punishment, but more as a tool, because these precious commodities that we get aren't easy to replace, they aren't easy to find. We know that air traffic control is difficult and you're not going to be able to get everyone through, but we got to increase the certification rates.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. And I don't need you to go back, John, to the next slide, but I do want to highlight one more thing about the Academy. And again, it's maybe just an awareness piece. Just remember, the Academy does not produce CPCs. And again, I think a lot, and myself included, as I was in the field, expect a trainee to come to me ready to plug in and work traffic. Remember, the Academy is there to assess their ability to become an air traffic controller. The real training happens to become a CPC at that facility level. So, there is an expectation. I know we hear it all the time. Jamaal and I talk about it, that, I'm not getting a quality trainee. Is there room for improvement? Absolutely, and those are some of the things we're working on. But I would ask that we level set our expectation and understanding what we are getting from the Academy, and then what the rest of that job would entail once they get to the facility. So, and if you don't mind, I'm going to hit a question because it continues to pop up, and it's referenced the Academy as well too. Are we building a second Academy? Absolutely not. Not building a second Academy, but what we are doing is exploring opportunities so that we have redundancy. Tornado goes through the Academy right now and takes it out. What are we doing? We're flat-footed. We don't have that ability to train. We saw it during COVID. We took down the Academy, obviously, because of COVID, and we were able to do some training up in Nashville. Again, we've explored those opportunities. We've been doing it in the tech ops world for quite some time. We have a couple of outposts outside of the Academy where we train different training. We're training right now out of C90. We've got TSU that we operate out of there. We no longer do it at SoCal, but we are exploring Atlanta as well too. We're going to leverage the regional office that we have in Atlanta and look at opportunities to have an East Coast, call it Academy if you want. It won't be that full size, but it'll be an opportunity to train. And we're also partnering with the Air Force as well. We've done it on the tech ops side again, where we have partnered, leveraged the Navy to train some of the same type of equipment that we use in the FAA. We train that down at Pensacola. Unfortunately, we can't do Pensacola for air traffic. We're looking at Keesler Air Force Base, thanks to Jamaal. But But anyway, just opportunity. They use the same system that we use. They have 7 TSSs. The Air Force has offered up to us many times, leverage our assets that we have out there in the field. So again, it's looking at every opportunity we have, one, for the resiliency, two, for those redundancies, and an opportunity to increase the throughput for more CPCs.
Well, if I can add, the Air Force is a perfect point. This is a national problem. It's a world problem. Everybody is focused on how to support the hiring and training of air traffic controllers. The Air Force has been more than willing to offer their schoolhouse for us. And as Chris mentioned, every one of their facilities that has a simulator, they've offered for our use. So we ought to be taking advantage of that to see, will this work for us? As you mentioned, the Navy offered their academy. We took advantage of it, and it doubled our throughput. Now, this will not probably do that,
no,
but it is an opportunity. We're already working with the airlines. We have American helping us with some training. We had United yesterday offer us an opportunity to help with training. I think that's where we're going to leverage all of those resources to improve where we are.
As you look at this slide, you do see that our percentages and times have gone down, particularly in our towers 4 through 7. We're under a year. That's incredible that we've gotten there. And we also kept the percentage rate of certification high. One of the choke points that we recognized was in our tower approach 8 and 9. So you want to maybe discuss what we're doing to address that?
Yeah, absolutely. So we came up with a new path. We're still working on the acronym, whether we call it ENTR or whether we call it IQTR, but it's initial quality terminal radar. And so the path would be air traffic basics. Once you graduate air traffic basics, you would go through RTF. Once you graduate RTF, then you would complete TSU. After completion of TSU, you would then be graded on the RTF evals. 70 or higher would be passing, and you would then have placement into our 8s and our 9s. Remember, right now, no one goes to a level 9 out of the academy. We just recently started allowing the track 2s to go to the level 8. So we felt like it was a gap in facilities that were being missed. Via the INSEP, they're getting skipped over, those 8s and 9s. And so targeting those, we'll see how it does. We're going to run probably, I think we've got about 125 to 150 on the schedule this year that will run through that path. And those individuals, it will be opened up to all our 8s and 9s. What did we say, how many slots were out there?
Well, as you see, there's 154 in training there at those facilities now. If we put another 120 to 150 through, that's 250 or nearly 300 people. We only have 280 vacancies in that, but those 280 vacancies prevent movement out of those facilities. So if we're able to actually address a San Antonio, Austin facilities that currently don't get bodies into them, get those healthy, then that track where those 8s and 9s can go on to fill our 10s, 11s, and 12s, and then we have a process that everyone can be proud of. But it's going to take a lot of work. We haven't put people in 8s and 9s out of the academy, so one of the things we have to do is address how does that look. You haven't received an academy grad in a while, your training program is probably not set up for their success, so we want to give them an opportunity to get ahead of that. So the way this came about is Chris comes to me and says we have an issue or an opportunity to expand our academy throughput because we've never used terminal radar as a means to do so. And then we said, what problem can we solve with that? And that's where the 8s and 9s, those conversations obviously occur with Jeff. We let John listen to us. He doesn't say much, but he's there for us for moral support. But the fact of the matter is these things, we have to find ways to address the issues that we have in the agency, and doing that collaboratively is how we get to an endpoint.
I think, could we grab one of those questions out of the Slido there? And has there been any consideration of removing the academy from the training process and just doing it at all the training at the facility? I think that's what the question is.
It's interesting because, we were talking to our Canadian friends yesterday, and they have their academy's much longer than ours. And I think then they see the gains on the other side, wasn't quite able to understand what their throughput is or how long it ends up taking overall. But for us, no, we're not looking to get rid of the academy. We do need that level of AT basics, those things that are just not set up for facilities to do. We've had a long success with the academy, but like anything, doing things exactly the way you've done them is not how you get better. We have to look for adjustments and improvements. So we're always looking to improve the academy, improve throughput.
Yeah, I would say the academy's there. They're fundamental for us to establish those basics. But I agree with Jamaal. There will be an evolution of how we train. I think the academy is starting to recognize that. The rates they're seeing, they don't have an answer. So I think it's incumbent upon us to figure out, like you guys have done, what is the solution? How could we do this differently? But they're going to be a big part of that.
I think that's part of any safety system or training system, and frankly the NAS, right? We have to evolve, right? And that's how we're leaders. We're aviation leaders. We're worldwide leaders. And if we don't evolve, then we fall behind, right? And so it's incumbent on us to evolve, right? I like to say, you know, our newest controllers coming in have probably never lived in a world without an iPhone, and they show up at a facility with a rotary phone on the wall. And what that conversation is probably a little weird.
Oh, hey.
Yeah, right.
That's an infrastructure issue.
I know. There you go. But I mean, I think they're all really good points, and you know, just making sure we're evolving and making the system a little bit weird. Do we have any other questions we want to take? Or you
That
guys?
bottom question looks
We'll do
good.
that. Okay. So how does the FAA target better candidates for off-the-street hiring to help lower the failure rates at the academy?
You know, the failure rate's been fairly consistent. You know, we don't have a profession where you're not going to have some people fail, or it's not quite the profession we've always thought it is. We have to make adjustments to the people. As you just said, you know, they've held an iPhone in their hand their entire career, and we're still teaching them like it's 2005.
Right.
We have to make adjustments to the people we're getting rather than thinking we're going to find the MIT grad that says, I want to be an air traffic controller. We're going to have regular American citizens that want to give to this profession. They apply through the application process. It's a very strenuous process to get through. If you make it through, you do have some aptitude. It's our job to then cultivate that and make sure that that translates into an air traffic controller.
And HR, obviously, who does the hiring process for us, is looking at many different opportunities for recruiting and trying to find where is the pocket of folks that we're missing, right? So this year, the next off-the-street announcement's coming out, I think it's October 11th, and we're going to keep that open until November 4th and/or until we hit 35,000 applications. So it could run past that point. But one of the things that we changed on this bid is we reduced the 3 years down to 1 year of work experience. Right. And again, because I think we're missing an opportunity. I use Oklahoma as an example all the time. They've got about 400 and something high schools in the state of Oklahoma that have an AOPA approved aviation education from 9th all the way to 12th grade. These are people that have made their mind up. They want to do something in aviation. Is that the right audience? And again, I'm not saying it is, I'm not saying it's not, but to Jamaal's point, we can't continue to do things the same way and expect a different result. So this is looking at opportunities to try to make a dent into what we're trying to achieve here, which is, you know, more CPCs.
Yeah, and I think the HR recognizes that more is not necessarily better because it clogs up the system to process through the quality candidates to get them through. So they're looking at everything, as Chris said, to define what quality looks like coming in.
Yeah, 56,000 applications for the 2022 fall bid, and we selected 2,300 off 56,000. And again, that's the various fallouts all the way from the ads to medical security, et cetera. And again, we did a bad job of the recruiting there. I think a lot of folks looked at the dollar signs as opposed to realizing, oh, I got to work weekends, I got to work nights. You know, I'm not going to be off on Thanksgiving, I'm not going to be off on Christmas. And the reality set in, it's not a job I want to do. So again, we've kind of looked at what we can do better, and I think we'll have a better success. And we saw better recruitment in the last one, and I think we're still looking to move forward and hopefully get a better quality of candidate.
That middle question might actually help explain. You want to throw it out? Read that middle
Oh,
one?
yeah. So we're losing qualified trainees due to the placement process at Oklahoma City. I think that there's a reference in the academy. Can we give them a choice, I assume the qualified trainees, East, Central, West, so that they're closer to where they want to be?
Yeah, we've made the gigantic change in the way we address placements out of the academy. We've opened it up much broader. Almost every en route facility is available. The only restriction is if one were to be 5% above the national average, which none of us are there yet, or greater than the 30% ATCS to trainee ratio, which I think Seattle was the only one. So right now at the academy, when you go through, if you're in the en route world, almost every facility is available to you based on your class rank. And what we've seen is that people are choosing home, or sometimes they're not, but they have a wider variety of facilities to choose from. In the terminal world, we've opened it up quite far. As you said, we've included level 8s for those that score a 90 or above, and on some of them, up to 142 facilities to choose from. Again, sometimes We have 3 people score a 90 and none of them pick a level 8, which is an indicator that they wanted to be closer to home. Sometimes people pick, I just saw yesterday one person from, I believe, Kansas picked Milwaukee because they scored the highest, and Milwaukee was a level 8 that they wanted to go to. So we have changed the academy placement process. We are going to continue to monitor it. We'll look at it every 6 months, and then this 8 and 9 process will address those facilities that also are very unique. There's only 40 of them that'll be in that process.
We've also extended for track 2 as well. We've opened up the track 2 as our previous military or previous experience hires. So we've given them a much bigger list than what we used to give them as well too. And we were seeing a pretty high declination based on, again, they didn't want to move their families. So now opening that up, we're getting a better success rate there too. And back to that IQTR, is that what we're going to call it. Yes. But we're also going to hit the combined control facilities with that as well too. So all 4 of those will be on there. The only caveat is they will have to go to the terminal side of training. They won't have that option of going to the en route side of the training when they go to the combined control facility.
So Jeff is dying to answer a question, so I'm going to tee it up for him.
Go ahead.
So if you guys just chill out for a
Yes.
second. So
I really don't have the answer, but I can address it.
okay. Has bringing back functional training been considered for encounter facilities to decrease the amount of times to
I think
certify?
it means en route.
Yeah, en route facility, I think
That's
is what
not the
they're saying.
question I want.
No, you
I'll
don't-
answer that one real
You
quick.
get that one, I'll get the middle one.
One,
Okay.
functional training's a dirty word, so no, but we do have a couple facilities that are doing it a little bit different, R&D together, and that's with a waiver.
Okay. Thank you for bringing up the question that Jeff really wanted. And it says, are there trends or areas of the academy or facilities that are key drivers of the failure rate? How do we address them?
I will take a stab at that, but I think that to me, that wasn't really the question I wanted either. Thank you.
You literally
I wanted
could
the
not make him
PIREP
happy.
question.
Like
I
you're
want
done.
to point at it. I think we do. I mean, Chris and Jamaal could tell you, but we track. You see the stats to the left or behind us. We track success rates of every employee, facility throughout the facility. So we know, and we have just started doing a. I don't know what the name of the report is, but we look at outliers. So we are looking at why are we seeing this happen at this facility? And so we're just now pulling a lot of that data, working with HAT and Rally's team to figure out what's actually happening. And I mentioned earlier that we're looking at best practices too. Why is Minneapolis or a facility doing so well? How can we do that? So I think yes to the answer, we're doing that. The PIREP was the question
That
was.
was not on the bottom, it was in the middle.
I pointed to the middle.
Jeff, really quick to add to that is what we do find is those facilities that actually adhere, and this is wild, actually adhere to the 3120.4 training order do better than those who just make up their own orders, right? So we have well-developed processes that should take you from the cradle to the end of your career in air traffic training, and those who don't deviate from that do better. So we're committed to trying to set up a process when one becomes an OS or one becomes a FAC rep to ensure that they have training on the 3120.4 so that they could be administrators of that at their facilities and make sure that we're not deviating. Those facilities that have long training times, when we go and do training reviews, we find out that they've completely made up what they want to do because they feel it's better at their facility, and rarely is deviating created a better process.
Yeah, my commitment, my ask to the 2400 team, which runs the air traffic training, was I wanted, one, make sure when we roll out the .4 that we're doing some robust training, having the opportunity for the questions and answers. And again, to Jamaal's point, a requirement. If an OS is going to lead a training team, we want them to be fully capable of leading that team and understanding the .4. That's what they have to lead that team with. I've said my entire career, there's one thing a supervisor can single-handedly mess up on their own, and it's a training team, right? And so they have that ability to do, but we don't put the focus in the training where we need to. But that has changed, and that's something that we're focused on with this new .4 rolling out, making sure that they have that training and understand the .4. And, you know, Valerie, I'll call her out because I see her in the audience. Her team is on call 24/7. If there's a question to the .4, they will absolutely respond and make sure that you have the answers.
So give Jeff the actual opportunity to answer the actual question he wanted. Do you want me to read it for you?
No, I can read it.
Okay.
So thanks for the question around PIREPs and the type of weather information that we are ingesting into that. So if anybody from industry is interested in additional feeds to that, we're open to that. But I don't believe that we're currently taking that type of weather data in, but certainly open to that to see how we can expand the program and have better weather data and PIREPs.
I think it'd be great. And as we wrap up here, is just one last thing quickly. So we kind of keep us on schedule here. But any last comments for the conference?
For me, it takes all of us to be engaged in making training training robust. I know that people are tired of hearing the phrase that we have to train our way out of our staffing situation. But the fact of the matter is we have to train our way out of the staffing situation. We have to hire, we have to properly compensate, but we definitely have to train. So it can't be done without you. So thank you. And take this back to your facilities. If you need additional information, we can provide it.
Yeah, I would highlight, we didn't get to the last slide, but the TSSs, I don't want to go without just highlighting the TSSs and the importance of them. You hear Jamaal talk about it all the time. Simulation, we do have studies that show it improves certification time by 27%. So the TSSs, you know, Adacel is out here, take a look at the booth. That is the software that's rolling out. If it hasn't made it to your facility yet, we'll be complete with the whole footprint December of 2025, with the goal to start increasing that footprint in the future. So thank you for the opportunity.
I think I will close with, Frank said this yesterday, our DCOO, that all of the incentives and things that we talk about won't matter if we can't solve this problem and improve quality training and CPCs coming out that are really knowledgeable and comfortable. But I also want to add that involves safety culture. That involves the well-being and balance of the individual. And I think that's going to be a key to solving some of this problem as well.
Yeah, I think my biggest thing, we have an opportunity. I said it earlier, I'll say it again. This is absolutely a perfect opportunity for us to drive in, instill a good culture, drive home reporting, right, getting the clear picture of what's going on out there. The answers are out here right in front of us, and you have provided them to us. We can get them deployed out into the NAS. So I want to say thank you. Thanks for having us. Appreciate all the questions. If you had something that wasn't answered, come hunt us down. We'll try to answer it offside.
Grab one
and
of us.
enjoy the rest of the conference.
Thank you,
Good morning.
everybody.